I auditioned for Canadian Idol in, wow, 2002 or 2003, like a long time ago.
You did?
And I did in Toronto.
Wow.
And I drove all the way up there and stood in line all night long. And the pictures are kind of amazing because we took aerial photos from up in the tower or whatever. And so it was really cool to see. So I ended up making it through the first round and then called back the second day. And then the second day, once we moved to indoors and stuff, then I didn't make that cut. So I never actually got to meet the TV judges, but it was a really mind-blowing experience because I was young.
It's the On Stage podcast with Chris Ruppert.
Welcome to another Smule. Once a month, we try to get a member of the Smule community to join us on the stage. And now we have ELLIE RIGBY. I can't believe it. She is here with us on the stage. She's got a beautiful voice. It's a great day. Beautiful weather. So let's introduce ELLIE RIGBY. ELLIE RIGBY, hello. How are you, Winter Smuler?
I'm very well. How are you?
Excellent. I'm so happy to see you.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, good. And how was your day? Did you have a good day?
I had a wonderful day. I didn't have nice weather, but kept myself busy. I got lots of dogs around, so they keep me nice and busy all day long.
Thank you. And so could you please give us a little bit of backstory of who you are?
What makes me tick? Well, when it comes to singing, because we're talking about Smule, I was just a little kid, and my mother and my aunts and stuff would always go and sing at church and at functions, and whether it be weddings or such. And I think I was about 6 when they started bringing me along, because I was just that kid that always easily picked up harmonies. So they brought me up, and I'm sure I don't have any footage, thank goodness, because I'm going to reveal my age a little bit. We didn't have that stuff back then so much. So I just did that for years and years, and then I became a mother, and I put it all on hold for probably a good 15 years, and here I am back again.
Do you want to tell me where you're from?
I'm from Ontario, born in Manitouwadge. So in the middle of nowhere, Ontario.
So you have Indigenous background?
I do not, funny enough. There was, what was it? I think it was forestry. That was huge. So my father ended up following the forestry industry out there with I think a few brothers or something. So I ended up living out there. I was born there, and I think we left, I was grade 3, something like that.
But yeah, so do you have very many siblings?
I only have 2, actually. I have an older sister and I have a younger brother.
Well, that's cool.
And they were, I'm trying to think. My sister was musical, but my brother really wasn't. My brother was just your typical teenage kid, you know what I mean? Had no time, too cool to sing. So he never really got into the musical thing. But my sister did for years, again, until she became a mom. We, I guess I invested all of my time into that because I had a lot of children too. I didn't really have time. So it's really nice to get back to now. I've been, it's probably been since April I started. So we're a blended family. I have 2 biological children, but we have 6 altogether. And, three boys and 3 girls. We were the Brady Bunch, literally.
Wait a minute, you have 3 boys and 3 girls?
I do.
I have 3 brothers, 3 sisters.
Oh, isn't that fun? Oh, you know what? It was a blast. I have to admit, like, you think, wow, oh my God, so many children. But I find with our children, plus it was blended too, they're so well socialized when they go out into the world, because no matter what decision ever had to be made, there were 5 other opinions. Just in the kids. That's not including parents or anything like that. So you have to really learn to compromise and stuff to, be able to move forward. So it ended up being good for them.
So when was it that you thought that as soon as you opened up your mouth and started singing?
I sort of did when I was younger. So I auditioned for Canadian Idol in, 2002 or 2003, like a long time ago.
You did?
And I did in Toronto.
Wow.
And I drove all the way up there and stood in line all night long. And the pictures are kind of amazing because we took aerial photos from up in the tower or whatever. And so it was really cool to see. So I ended up making it through the first round and then called back the second day. And then the second day, once we moved to indoors and stuff, then I didn't make that cut. So I never actually got to meet the TV judges, but it was a really mind-blowing experience because I was young. I was, wow, early 20s. So I'm yet again revealing my age a little bit, but yeah, exactly. It was really, really cool. I got to admit.
Ellie, why did you register for Canadian Idol?
Really funny story, actually, because it was, I'm trying to remember, it was so yeah, in my small town, I might as well have been Tanya Tucker, right? So finally, I'm getting older now. I was in my early 20s, and I thought, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it was the first year that they had opened up Canadian Idol to older contestants, because I believe there was something where you had to be under 18 or something like that before. But anyway, so the first year they did that, so I decided, what the heck, right? I had a little girl. My biological daughter was about 1 at the time. And it was one of those things where I'd never really taken a risk before like that and put myself out there. And I thought, you know what? What am I going to have to tell my daughter when she gets older? That I just kind of, did the mom thing and, you know what I mean? Didn't take any risks. How am I going to be a good role model for her and tell her to get out there and take risks if it's something that I've never done myself? So I decided, got parents to babysit the daughter, and my husband and I went up to Toronto, and it was a long drive, and like I said, stand up all night. And the waiting in line was probably the coolest part of the entire show, because I was small town girl. First of all, this was amazing to me, all these people. It was just wow. And the amazing talent in the lineup, singing all night. And it was basically, they all sat around in circles because we're all waiting anyway, and they just start singing and harmonizing. It was just beautiful. And I noticed what pressure can do to people, where perfect example, I had this gentleman standing in front of me, and he sang like a songbird, like I've never heard before. It gave me shivers, to the point I don't talk to strangers, and I had to tap him on the shoulder and say, excuse me, like, that's just beautiful. And this poor guy was in front of me. And when he got in front of the judges, just completely flopped. Do you know what I mean? Just the nerves got to him. And I thought, you poor soul, I feel that right down deep in my stomach. You know what I mean? It was quite an experience.
Why didn't you meet any of the judges?
Oh, you know what? It was kind of cool because outside you end up, it's a process. It was really strange because you had these giant tents. I kind of felt like I was cattle in a corral, to be quite honest, but you had these giant tents that had about, I don't know, a dozen openings. And in each of these openings, there was 3 judges sitting there. And this was the first day. And so you'd wait, and then you'd corral, like as if you were at a carnival or whatever. And you'd get there, and they'd just get you to stand on the little X that's on the ground. And they'd say, okay, what are you going to sing? And you'd introduce yourself and say what you're going to sing. And they'd say, well, sing. And then you just sing with all the people and everything going around you. And they would just stone cold faces. There's no way you were reading expression in these faces. And you do your thing. And at the end, it was literally just a yay or a nay. No elaboration, nothing. So I was quite pleased to get through the first day, because I was like, wow, terrifying faces, because they're just trained, right? Don't react. You can't show if you prefer someone over somebody else. So it's kind of neat.
Did you meet any other talented singers?
Oh, tons. I don't remember any of the names because there was so many of them. And it was such an emotionally volatile time, I noticed, because it's very, it's the industry, right? Very cold and very quick and very blunt. So the second day, when we were in a giant room, I'm assuming was the some exhibition center, that was cool too, because now you had people lining the hallways and practicing their songs. And so it was really, really neat. But the nerves, you could just feel the energy. You could shake off of it. And this time, it was a little bit different. We all got called into our rooms, and there were 5 of us at the same time. So a little group of 5 people go into this room, and now there was a table with about 5 judges. So I'm assuming we're just a little higher up than the first judges, but I know it wasn't the back then it was Ben Mulroney and stuff like that. So it wasn't them yet. And same thing. You're standing there, 5 people, and they say, come right up to the little X on the floor, and what's your name, and sing, and you'd sing, and go back to your little spot. And that one was rough because when we were all done, they got all 5 of us to sing. And one judge looks up and just plainly says, well, no one's getting through from this round. Next. And everybody's just shuffled out the door. So it's the emotions are like really high. It was really interesting, I gotta say. Oh, it was unbelievable. I honestly, for me, it was the first time I had ever done anything like this. So I just thought that was just the industry. And unfortunately, I think it probably contributed to turning me off to the whole thing for like the next 15 years. Because I thought, you know what? I'm a mom. I'm a sweet little person. I've got this sensitive little soul. I'll just get gobbled right up. You know what I mean? That's I don't like rude people like that and stuff. I mean, to each his own, freedom of speech and all that stuff. But I don't have to be there and listen either or participate, right?
What song did you sing?
I sang, I'm trying to think, it was a Celine Dion song.
I
And
love Celine Dion. I actually have a whole slew of songs on my Spotify.
oh, I love her so much. I think it's a Canadian thing, right? And plus it was like young French Canadian girl. I swear my mother was trying to mold me into the new Celine, you know what I mean? So at a really young age, she was making me listen to her CDs or tapes at the time. And she bought me a karaoke machine when I was, wow, probably like 12. So from that point on, it was great because it was one of these karaoke machines where you could record yourself onto a tape. So at that point, I really sank myself into it. And that's, I guess, how I got really good at harmonies, because I would listen to myself over Celine's actual track and her voice and then compare to kind of where my pitch was and where I should be. It was kind of a neat little idea that my mom had, I guess.
When it was your first day to go to Canadian Idol and perform, can you describe that day and how you felt?
I can. If I can remember, I'll give you as much as I got because it was a long time ago. But it was huge for me because, like I said, I'm not that girl that just goes out and performs like that. Especially at that age, I was very shy, and I knew I could sing, but still, you've still got those self-confidence issues. You're just a young girl. Young men are the same way, young anybody, right? So, my husband at the time drove me all the way to Toronto, and actually they were very kind. There was myself, my husband, and a friend of his, and they didn't want me to have a tired voice. So by the time about 11 o'clock rolled around, I had gotten a room. So I was to go up to the room and I'd get some sleep, and then they would hold my place in line. And so then I could go back in the morning and, get dolled up and stuff. So you don't, have to go and audition with sleep in your eyes, so to speak. So, I was just full of nerves and excitement. And one of those, it didn't really matter what the result was. It was just so exciting that it was something completely new for me. And I thought, and plus something I could brag about to my daughter, thinking, you know what, no matter what the result is, I went down there and put myself out there and auditioned. And I could at least brag to her when I wanted her to understand that, go for your dreams, go for your goals. Like, it's hard as a mom to say that if you're not living it, or you didn't at least try that yourself, right? You try not to be too hypocritical as a parent. So it pushed me a lot. And just like a corral is the best way to explain it, with like just thousands upon thousands of people. Because I guess Toronto was one of the bigger auditions of Canadian Idol, like I'm sure Vancouver was, and Montreal and stuff. But it was mind-blowing because I was a very small town girl. So I had never even seen this amount of people, never mind experienced anything like this. And I do remember being in line and all these angelic voices singing around me. And a limo pulled up. And I thought it was really cool back then because, wow, right, small town girl, not a lot of limos where I was. and young Ben Mulroney exits the limo, and I thought, oh my goodness, look. And back then I really knew him as the ex-prime minister's son, because he really was kind of new in the entertainment industry and stuff back then. So that was pretty neat. That was my first celebrity sighting. So I thought, wow, look at that. And it's too bad I didn't actually get to audition in front of any of them, but it was fun. Like, in one word, fun was the best way to describe it. There was no negatives, except for obviously the letdown when they harshly tell you to just leave. It was this hard pill to swallow, but yeah, all in all, it was a cool experience.
Why do you think they just didn't want you to continue?
Myself personally, or
Yeah, sure.
you know what? Honestly, I think back to that poor gentleman. Like I said, he blew me away. My singing ability, he was just amazing. And then by the time he got to the front, whether it was nerves or dehydration or he didn't eat enough that morning, the voice wouldn't go. The voice cracked. You could hear the shaking in the voice. So I think that's probably what ended up happening to me, especially I was so long ago. You're so much less self-confident at that age, that I'm sure it was, or shaking in the voice was a huge one, because I could feel my hands shaking. And again, maybe choice of song. Who knows if maybe that Celine Dion song was unoriginal at the time. You know what I mean? I can't remember what the hits were really, or so yeah. It was cool.
So in America's Got Talent, the person always has to have a second song. Was that something that they had to demand of you, that you had two songs in case they didn't like the first one?
Not myself. Maybe once you got to higher rounds, which I think would have been way better. But I think what happens is, just my adult eyes now. There's so many people, and there's people that are good and people that are not so good, and you know what I mean. I think they get just so fed up with just hearing songs, that by the time I got there, they were just miserable now. You know what I mean? And rightfully so, I guess, if you've been sitting there and you've been through hundreds upon hundreds of people already. I really do think that people that audition in the beginning do have an advantage that way. Just knowing human beings and how exasperated you can get after hearing repetition for so long, right? It's one lesson I learned, is you really want to try to be first in line. Don't be the last one that they hear. It's just, it's like, you don't want to buy the thing on the shelf that they made at 5 o'clock on Friday at the factory. You know what I mean? They might have forgot to add a few things they're trying to get out quick.
What about the disappointment that you weren't even asked to
Oh, it
continue?
was so sad. Just, of course, the huge disappointment. And I'm that person that I'm not going to let them see me sweat, though, right? So I was like a gracious queen. Oh, I'm fine. Oh my goodness. You know what I mean? Congratulations. And my husband's there and he's like, are you all right? Oh my God, I'm fine. You know what I mean? I'm great. But and I did this whole charade until we got outside the building where there's no more people, because I'm so humiliated at this point. I'm not going to further humiliate myself by bursting into tears in front of 1,000 complete strangers. So I get to the little roundabout where we're going to get to our vehicle or whatever, and make sure there's nobody really around, and then I just let it roll. You know what I mean? I just cried and cried, and he just didn't know what I said. I'm fine, honestly. I just need to decompress. That was like the most horrible experience of my life. So that part was sad. I didn't enjoy that they weren't pleasant at all. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm out in the public a lot, and I get crabby days too. And I mean, just put your mask, your little happy face on. You know what I mean? Everybody's got their problems, and I don't need to share mine with anybody. Everybody's got their own stuff.
I can't imagine how you felt. I'd be disappointed too.
Oh, it's horrible.
How long did you plan for before you knew you had to go out there and sing?
Oh, wow. Before I actually went to Toronto, I practiced forever, like 6 months. I perfected this song, right?
Really?
Oh, I did. And I mean, I know out of most of the songs, I can really get a Celine song good. So I made sure that I was on point, you know what I mean, for months. And I would sing in front of family and in front of like work friends and stuff just to make sure I was practicing. So I really hadn't sung that much outside of just church and the odd wedding and stuff. So you've maybe got 100 people, where this was like a lot of people. So I had to practice just the nerves of singing in front of strangers and stuff like that. Like, it was kind of a neat experience for me. I learned a lot even before I got to Canadian Idol, with discipline. And if you really want to get the song right, you're not going to do it 3 times. You're going to have to do it 1,000 times until it's like like the back of your hand.
Tell us more about how you go about to get on a show like that.
Oh my goodness, what did I do? Well, I believe the way it worked back then is you could submit beforehand a video, and if you were like really good, I guess you skipped the line and then you got to go right to the judges. And I didn't do that. And then you show up. That's it. You basically drive to Toronto and you show up, and there's a nice little table, and it's like a race. Everybody gets a little number, and instead of being so and so, you're number 112. We don't have names, or we have numbers, and that's it. Just you get ushered. It's like getting on a roller coaster at Canada's Wonderland, or yeah, I think it's still called that now. I'm so old, I swear. You're right. It's the same. It's these little metal corrals, and you just all gonna get shoved through until it's your turn to get on the roller coaster. And boy, oh boy, is it a roller coaster. Wow. I was glad that the second day, like once you got through, that you had a break. It wasn't like you went into the next building and had to do it all over again, because like I said, the nerves were so powerful. You were exhausted by the time you did your one song. So I needed a nap before I could actually go and do a second song the second day. So that was kind of nice. They thought of us that way.
But there's more than just sending in a video. Don't you have to fill out a form or several forms? And
maybe now, but this was like a long time ago. Like I said, 2002, 2003. I don't remember filling out maybe like one form with all your actual information. But besides that, I remember just showing up and then getting my little sticker like I was in a marathon. And it was a marathon. It was just like a way different one. It was just as exhausting.
So you remember that show, The Prisoner, where everyone was known as a number 6, number 4?
Yes, I do.
You weren't a name. There was no name.
No, just a number. That's it.
Yeah, and so you went through all that just to be told that, sorry, we don't need you anymore. I'd be like devastated.
To go home, I know. And I had to drive like a super long time to get home. It's like 9 hours. It's ridiculous. So it was, I was very happy though. Like I said, I saw what kind of like, it was kind of a cruel world. You know what I mean? And I was a new mom. My baby girl was 1. And I thought, you know what? This is way more loving than that. That was not loving or happy at all. I didn't enjoy that. So yeah, I completely put it on the back burner and really invested myself in my kids. And funny enough, we became a musical family because my daughter was always musical, and she ended up being in the high school band, which was like a rock band. It was really cool. They did really cool Queen covers. So it was really neat. And she went to university in Toronto for specialty in music. So that's kind of nice too. Really, really enjoys it. And it's fun because she tells me some of her course load, and it's kind of neat to learn some of the things that she's learning. I mean, I'm helping pay for it, so I might as well learn too, right?
Well, but you said she actually plays an instrument as well?
She does. My daughter sings and plays regular guitar and bass guitar and ukulele.
Ukulele? Wow.
My favorite is the ukulele. I got to admit, she's gifted in all of them, but I mean, the ukulele is just so much fun. And she's a plunky little girl, so when she plays a plunky little instrument, it's just perfection.
What is it about music that makes you so passionate?
What is it about music? Well, it started young because, again, I was small town. There was nothing to do, nothing. So I literally kept myself busy with music and every kind of music you could imagine, from Fleetwood Mac to gospel music, because my mom made me sing at church as well. So I had that repertoire, to country music, to jazz music. It didn't matter what kind of music it was. I was just in love with it all. And again, being from a small town, you couldn't really access your friends as much as you could, because my high school was about, I would take a bus to my high school, and the bus ride was about 20 minutes. So I mean, it was a small town. So a lot of my friends were 20 minutes away. So before I actually had a driver's license, it was kind of very isolating, right? Who really hang out with their parents at that age? Like, I don't care how cool your parents are. So that's what I did. Locked myself in my room, and I just enveloped myself in music in every way that I could, and improved myself at the same time. So yeah, that's where that comes from. And it just brings me a peace now, I guess, because of that, because it was always my solace and my bestie, so to speak, right? When no other friends were accessible. And again, back in the day before the internet, we had dial-up phones, and if you kept that phone line busy, boy oh boy, everybody else in the family was not going to be too pleased. So that's what you do. So it brings me a peace, a nostalgia almost, and a comfort.
Really?
That's my generation. I know, isn't that sad? Like, I mean, no disrespect to the new kids on the block boys, you know what I mean? But I know it's like almost like a stereotypical teenage girl poster. I wish I could say I was like this, I don't know, offbeat cool girl that had, like, the fun band in the corner. But no, I was just on the bandwagon with all the other screaming teenage girls. Basically, the Justin Bieber of the time. I would have been right there at the front of the stage crying with all the other girls.
So who was your favorite New Kids on the Block?
The little Joey. Because I was always a small little thing, and I always had a small little voice, and he had such a small little soprano voice. And I thought, and plus he was the youngest, so of course he was the closest to my age. So I thought, oh, dreamy, now you could, maybe you could really marry that one because he's your age. So of course it's got to be that one. Come on. You got to have somebody's name that you can doodle on your binder in class. Come on.
So you didn't like Donnie Wahlberg at all?
You know what? I wasn't into bad boys. He was
Oh.
a bad boy. And I was more on the straight and narrow.
Well, his brother is Marky Mark, right?
Well, that's a whole different story. Marky Mark and I go way back. We're still besties. I watched all his movies. I don't actually know him, but I've loved his stuff since the dorky rapping videos. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan. I got to admit.
Yeah, they were the Backstreet Boys of the day.
Oh, they were. And these things just evolve, right? They turned into the Backstreet Boys, turned into. These things just keep going. So I know my daughter, what was it? One Direction. When she was into One Direction, I was like, oh my goodness, it's my New Kids on the Block, just like 2.0. You know what I mean? Maybe 3.0. It's the upgrade, the modern version.
Well, when I first joined Smule, I sang a lot of Backstreet Boys. My favorite one was Drowning.
Yes.
And I sang a lot of NSYNC.
I was going to say, I was a bigger fan of NSYNC because of Justin Timberlake. Mm-hmm. And I knew right away. I love when it's got this perfect tone and pitch, and he had such an amazing voice that, sure, it doesn't help that the guy had, dimples and cute little blonde hair and stuff at the time, but it really wasn't that. It's just the voice that he had was so superior to anything that I'd ever heard, especially, again, small town girl, right? There weren't a lot of singers out there. So it was all really neat. Like, I couldn't believe the tone of his voice. So I was a big fan. I was always a huge Fleetwood Mac fan.
Yes.
Love me some Stevie Nicks. She's a queen. Yeah.
She has a nice voice.
Oh, she really does. She's just got a whole vibe going. Yeah, Fleetwood Mac was one of my favorites. Rumors, actually, that album,
Yeah,
great
that's my
album.
favorite album. Rumors and Dreams. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. My favorite. I recognize the song. I'm actually so bad at that. I can recognize a song. I'm great at music trivia, but I'm not so good at remembering the artist.
There's a new show I like watching. Was basically an old show, but they brought it back called "Don't Forget the Lyrics."
Oh, okay. I think I've seen previews for it. I think I know what you're talking about.
You can win $1 million through it because you have to. What they do is that they start at 2,500 and you have to sing, and then you have to fill in the three lyrics, and as you go up 4 or 5, and then to get $1 million, you have to fill in 12 missing words in the lyric.
Oh my goodness. And that's the big ask because I know even myself now, I can have the lyrics right in front of me and I'm still going to flub one of those lyrics every single time, all the time.
Do you have
Yes.
any like weaknesses that you're working on so that they don't
All the
affect?
time. Oh my goodness. I have learned that, it doesn't matter how old you get, you can always learn more. And it is kind of like a bicycle. It's like they say, you can't really forget, but you can definitely not, I haven't sang for 15 years. I was actually really impressed at how quickly I picked it back up because when I got onto Smule in April was the first time I've sang in public in like a decade, in 15 years. So it was twofold for me. I had zero practice. It was all just, throwing myself out there. And I had never done the videos, not ever for anything, never mind singing, right? So that was a toughie. I started out with, obviously the audio ones, like the soft enter. And to this day, you know what? The videos obviously have more nuance, but I find musically, um, my sound suffers if we're doing a video versus an audio only file because we're all built the same, right? You've got that beautiful little picture on the side and you're looking at yourself and you're thinking, oh my goodness, look at that hair, or look at that look on my face, instead of just pouring 100% of your concentration into the actual audio. So that I find, everybody prefers videos. I get it. I do too prefer to watch them, so I totally understand where it comes from. But musically alone, it's a real downer that way because if I'm suffering from that, I can't be the only one, right? How much more beautifully it would sound if we weren't such a visual race, but we do love our images, don't we? I've spent a whole day, so a whole day being, maybe 4 hours out of my day, because obviously you're doing other things, repeatedly just trying to get one song perfect. You know what I mean? Go back and forth, but hit that record and I swear I've done maybe 17 takes sometimes, especially if it's something that it's a really good song that I want to do well. And I know I can sing it well. And, you've got an ear for your own music. It's just going to screech in my ear if it's not perfect. But yeah, no, I love being able to go back and tweak it like that. Big fan of that.
If life was like that, you could just easily,
Right. It
redo it.
reminds me of that movie. Wasn't there an Adam Sandler movie called Click or something where
Yep.
he got a remote and he could just pause and rewind? And that would just be amazing with probably the same consequences as the movie, but it would be quite fun for the time being.
Or Groundhog Day, you just redo the same day over and over again and just change it.
Yes. Right?
I've noticed that. Did you ever notice this too? That whenever you perfect a certain song, that when you have to open it again, it's just natural. Boom, boom.
Yes, I love that. I notice that a lot of people do that. Do you ever notice that we'll just keep opening the same song? You'll do it maybe 6 months later, but it's so much easier and that flow, right? You've done this open before. I like that. That's fun. My favorite part though, honestly, about the whole thing is if you have somebody request a song that you've never heard of. There's nothing I enjoy more. I mean, obviously, if you have the time and it's not in a competition or whatever, it's just for fun, than to learn a new song that way, especially if it's from a genre that I haven't really dabbled in. Then it's getting your voice to do creative things that it maybe hasn't done before. So that to me is the fun of joining songs like that on Smule. I really enjoy that.
And this song that you've never heard before, and you started to learn to sing it. Was it difficult?
I don't find it is, and I shouldn't say that. I mean, and you would know this as well. Once you listen to so many songs over so many years, they all kind of sound the same. So you end up kind of just instinctually knowing where the next notes are going to go. So that's what one of the ways I find I get really impressed by a songwriter. If it's a song that I don't pick up in 3 tries, if I have to really sit there and it drives me bonkers because I can't hit that harmony. I guess it's challenging, right? So I really enjoy those where the other ones are just as fun, but you're not as challenged, right? So you're not getting into that flow of singing and stuff.
So, what was your favorite song to open up so many times on Smule?
Obviously the ones that I sound the best on. But one of the ones that I really enjoy doing is, I'm going to try to remember the title. All I Want, I believe it's called. Codeline? Is that what it's called? I believe that's the name. But that one is just such a beautiful song. The lyrics are gorgeous. And I sing it well. It flows when I sing it. So of course I sound good when I'm singing it too. So that one's my favorite one to open and my favorite one to harmonize. So I actually did one where I did both, and I was quite pleased with the results of that one. That's lovely perfectionism in the same way where I might get 12 listens on that song, but my goodness, it is going to be perfect for me. Every time I listen to it, it better not resonate wrong, or else I'm just gonna re-sing it.
Hey, Ellie, describe your favorite and least favorite part about being a musician.
Favorite and least favorite parts. My favorite part about being a musician is just the creativity that it allows you to have. So, um, whatever mood you're in, I find, yeah, I guess with any art really, but whatever mood you're in, if I can just go out and sing a song, it'll just correct that mood for me. So if I'm having a bad morning and I'm just, exhausted and I don't, crabby, so to speak, if I can, even if it's just humming a song to myself, it just brings me peace that way. You know what I mean? It really calms me.
Have you ever had a desire to write a song?
Funny question, no, but I'm also a writer. So I'm not a writer. I don't write books, but as a profession, I'm a marketer and blogger and stuff like that. And I've always written short stories and poetry. So I'm a writer by nature as well. I just never really combined the two. So I guess maybe someday I'll just decide to magically melt them and maybe, produce the best song ever. But it's something that I never really thought of combining because one was more my job and the other one was more for fun. So yeah, maybe it's to be continued. Ooh.
Probably. You never
Ooh,
know what you're going to be
right?
doing tomorrow.
Maybe you're just going to be the first one
Yeah.
to just release that out into the world.
I'm going to be in a bookshop if they do have bookshops in the future, or whatever, and I'm going to see a book written by you with your name on it,
Right?
and it's going to say "My Time on Shmuel."
That's right. That is such a brilliant idea because you say that, but it's something that's always swirled in my head because, like I said, I write blogs. I'm a marketer. I market things for a living and stuff. So I've always kind of in the back of my mind had this urge to write about it, write about my experience on Smule because it's funny when you look it up because it is the catchphrase, right? It's the most popular app you haven't heard of. And I love that catchphrase because it's so true. It's something that I had never heard of before. And once I did, wow, I just dived right in. So I found it pretty funny. And I thought, you know what, it'd be a really interesting read, especially, I mean, it's a niche market you got to be interested in that subject, but it would be a cool read, my experience, because you know how it is. It's tough when you first get on there because you're a complete newbie. Like for myself, I didn't know anyone. It's not like one of my friends and I kind of joined together. It was something that I discovered on my own, and there's so many people and you don't know what you're doing. It's not like I'm not the one to read the user manual before I actually start playing the game. And my experience of just trying to figure out how to do joins and how to get people to talk to you, because how do you get people to talk to you without looking like a creeper? You know what I mean? It's a lot of people don't like that kind of stuff. So it was a neat learning experience, and I got to know a lot about people, just a lot of different people, like I said, from all over the world, different cultures and their reactions to different things and stuff. So I love studying people. So it's kind of like best of both worlds when you go to Smule. So that was my experience with it. I'd love to one day maybe write about it, just a little blog or something. But again, that's something that's just kind of in the back of my mind. But it would be quite fun. Real life. We'll call it a reality show.
So when you blog, what do you use for? Do you use WordPress or?
For myself, I always blog. It's for a business, so it's always through the website. So I don't really have a platform that way that I use. So the one thing though that I read, where if I was gonna start blogging, that was the platform that I would probably use, is an app called Medium. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
Such a wonderful app. It is basically just amateur writers that send in their short stories, their little articles. They write about life. They write about, there's categories and stuff. So you have everything from science to arts to entertainment to you name it.
Wow.
And these writers submit their articles, and the way that they get likes. It's basically like Facebook type thing. And the more claps and likes you get for your articles, then obviously you get more followers. And I'm assuming it just ends up being the same way as any other social media platform. But I find it a really good source of news as well, because it's very unslanted news. It's just regular people writing about regular stuff, and some of the stuff is chemical engineering and astrophysics. And I mean, whatever you're into, they write about it. So it's a really neat place. And an intellectual space as well. I always laugh and I say it's, I don't want to name any of the other sites, but it's that one for grownups, where it's a lot more intellectual discussion and stuff like that. Even when it comes to the arts and entertainment stuff, I find it really informative. They blog and they write. Some are scientific articles, some are just blog stories. It's a great platform for all sorts of information.
Yeah, I used to write short stories when I was younger, and science fiction. I took a course called creative writing in college.
Yes.
Tell me about your favorite Smule performance.
My goodness, I have the funniest story for this. I'm glad you asked this question, because I was actually debating if I was even going to use this. But when I was in high school, we had a musical play going on, and oh boy, did I want the lead in that musical. And I was 16 years old. I was very non-committal about things, right? You're 16. How much are you really going to commit to? But boy, oh boy, did I want that lead. And I sang my heart out, and I did a wonderful job, and I just nailed it. I can't remember what the play was about. So I got the lead, and I was so happy, and I was so proud, and I told everybody I got the lead. But I really didn't want to do the play. I had no interest in staying after school every single night until 7 o'clock. So once I actually got the lead, I gave it away. I did not want it anymore, so I never actually did the play. I just felt good knowing that if I would have wanted that lead, it was mine. That's my high school musical story. That's my non-committal self at 16 years old, where I thought, this is just too much to ask of me. I am a young, fun-loving girl. I'm not going to spend my evenings here after school until 7 o'clock every single night. I'm not. So yeah, that was me at 16.
And what is it you liked so much about that musical?
I loved musicals in general at the time. They were just so energetic, and it's high school. So we were going to, we had a couple of trips into the city where I got to see, what was my first one? I got to see Miss Saigon in theater and Showboat. Those were the two. So that just really stayed with me. I loved the echo of the theater and stuff like that. So when we had a school play coming up, I thought, well, this, I'm going to be the showboat woman that I just went and saw not long ago. And I did a wonderful job. And then I thought, you know what? I'm exhausted at the end of the day. I'm 16. I really don't want to do this. So my understudy was quite pleased. I just made her day.
Do you think maybe that your understudy might have gone on to better things, the place where you should?
I honestly hope she's like runs Broadway now. You know what I mean? She was so happy. And she was such a sweet little thing. I was more than happy to do it too. I really didn't want it. And she wanted it so, so, so badly that I was like, you know what? It is yours. You may have it. So that was my story about that.
Describe your worst performance and what did you learn from this experience?
Ooh, I got a good story about this too. So my worst performance when I was younger, so not as a really young kid, but as I got a little bit older, my mother and stuff started performing at funerals. And I can't do funerals, even if I don't know the person. I cry. It's just, I'm an emotional mess. I can't take the energy. It's so sad. So I kept telling them, I will do weddings. I will do whatever you want. I will do the country fair, but I can't do funerals, please. So they book me for a funeral, and not any funeral, my aunt's funeral. So I was close to this woman. And at the time I was maybe, I don't know, 14, 15. And my mother and my aunt were with me. And I was the little soprano of the group, right? Especially back then, I had this tiny little voice. And I had warned them, I cannot do this. I will cry. And I'm in the middle of, what's the song with Celine and Andreas Bocelli, The Prayer. We're in the middle of doing the prayer. And I'm singing the high Celine notes. And it's such a sad song. And my mother and my aunt are older, so they've got deeper voices. And lo and behold, in the middle of my words, I just start to cry, just sob. It just took over. So I, professional, I just backed away. And the funnest part of all of that is they had to finish the song. And they really struggled finishing the song because they've got deeper voices and I had the higher voice. But I thought, I warned you I could not do this. So I really did enjoy the karmic moment there. But that was my worst flub when I was singing. And it was quite embarrassing. But everyone understood, of course.
What qualities do you think make a good musician?
Oh,
Do you think you have those qualities?
I do, but everything can be improved. And maybe at the starting line of all those qualities instead of at the finish line of all those qualities. But there's so much that goes into it. There's so much that you don't think about that goes into actually performing is a huge one. So you can be a singer, you could be magical at it, but if you're not able to perform, then you know what I mean? Then sing in the shower, more power to you. You know what I mean? I did it for years. It's great. But if you want to be a performer, you definitely have to practice on your performance. And that was a big one for me. And that includes everything from the silly technical things like volumes versus reverb versus the different effects. You know what I mean? So that structure of music, I am a complete newbie. Everything to me is, I'm glad I have a good ear, so to speak, so I can kind of play with the volumes and stuff myself, but no musical background at all. Like I never got musically trained. So if somebody asks me to sing an F, I have no idea what you're asking me to sing. You know what I mean? Play it on the piano key. Okay. Even reading sheet music and stuff like that. Not a clue. It was all just stuff that I picked up. So I've lately been working on, because I'm kind of just getting back into it now, is that part, the reading of the music and playing more than chopsticks on the piano and you know what I mean, kind of trying to develop that end and really trying to practice my Smule game when it comes to the technical part of it, where I can sound amazing, but if my volume's off, it's going to sound horrible. So that part's where I'm kind of at now.
It's hard to balance the volume on a Smule
It
song. I noticed
really is.
filters, but I need it where it's going to sound. I want to sing in a venue somewhere like the Living Arts Center up the street or
Yes. The
somewhere.
echo. Yeah.
I want the echo, so I got to create that echo,
Yeah.
and then when I sing the song, I got to balance it with the actual music, because you ever notice that some music is so loud that you
Oh,
can't
I
even
know.
hear yourself?
I know that drives me bonks. It all depends on how loud the track was. And
Mhm.
it's funny you say that because I just had the experience with a competition. So it was my first competition. And wow, wow, that was like eye opening for me because I thought, well, competition, that'll be fun. No, these were amazing singers. Like, I mean, on another level, amazing singers. And it was quite funny because, like I said, I'm very much a newbie to Smule. I've only been here like 3, 4, 5 months or whatever. And they start talking about layers. And I'm like, oh, well, that sounds like fun. I really, at this point, have no idea what layers are. I've only ever duetted and maybe, maybe snuck in a duet with myself to add some harmonies, but I don't know what layers are. And this is a requirement of the competition. So I thought, all right. So that was a learning experience. And I ended up producing a pretty good song. Um, for my first experience with layers. So that was I enjoyed that. And very difficult when you get into that level where you're doing layers like that when it comes to harmony volumes. So you can nail your melody, but if you're bringing in two different harmonies, now you got to watch, what effect are you going to use and how loud is it going to be, and it was really interesting and fun. Learned a lot, but the music that was produced by the other contestants, it was just amazing what they produced with a set of earphones.
You come up with a winner yet, or?
No, they just finished how does it work? They just finished round 1 knockouts, so they they went down to 60 people, and I got knocked out. Big sad. But I'm not at all. Like I said, if you look up the hashtag, you will be blown away by these people. Like some of them, there's literally no imperfection whatsoever, from volume to reverb to just like mind blowing. So I've never been so honored to be kicked off a bus. You know what I mean? To lose to people because, and they were all so kind. The funnest part about the entire competition, and I'll share this with you, is we had a main chat room, right? I guess I'm new to competition, so they must all work like this. You have a main chat room where all of your contestants kind of chit chat about what's going on. And then you have your coach room that we had. So that's that team. And then it's more the private conversation with the team. So what I found really sweet is in the main chat room. So that's not even your separate teams. If anybody had an issue with anything, whether, oh my goodness, I don't know how to do this, or how do I do this in my song, they would ask the question in the main chat room, and they would get about 60 different answers. And not even from people on your own team, just from general people willing to help.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a beautiful experience that way because it was all strangers, but we're all in competition with each other, but it really didn't seem that way, because the minute somebody threw a question out, you had at least, like I said, 60 people come up and say, you know what? Oh, I know how to do this, get this item or use this reverb. And it was really cool. I enjoyed that part. It was a real camaraderie type of environment. Even if it was a competition, it was really nice.
I sang with some really hard hitters myself, and some of them I couldn't even match my voice with. Like I
Oh,
wanted so badly
I
to
know.
be their duet partner or permanent duet partner, for them to
Yeah.
say, "Listen, let's start a little duo. We'll come up with a name and start
Yeah.
singing." That never happened because I just like it's just so much competition out there. I just ended up, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I
Oh,
was going
no. And you
to
know
for a
what? It's for
while.
fun, right? So as
Yeah.
soon as it becomes not fun anymore, then, after it's just a job now. I got jobs. I don't need another job. I'm doing this for fun to get away from the jobs. So once it becomes like a chore like that, and I feel like, that's the one thing I learned about competitions. I will probably do them again, but it's not something, I wouldn't be in the comp life, so to speak. It's stressful. Like I like a nice balanced life if I can. You know what I mean? Not too many ebbs and flows. Life likes, nice and mellow. And such polarizing things, right? Because it's big emotions. It's fear and nerves and embarrassment and pride. And so I like to do the comps to kind of get my game up, so to speak. But that part wasn't a fan of. So I think I'd have a long time between my comps, a couple of year or whatever. But yeah, they're heavy, I find. Beautiful, and I had fun. Don't get me wrong. But the fun's a roller coaster. It's like being on a roller coaster where you're up here and now you're down here because you're terrified. And is my submission good enough? And now you start listening to everybody else's submissions. That's the biggest mistake you can make.
Would you consider yourself a Smule professional, a Smule tech, or you're not there yet?
Oh my goodness, I'm not there yet. I wish I could gloat that I was, but that is probably where I struggle the most. Singing's easy. Singing comes naturally, right? We've all sung. I know myself forever. It's the other stuff. And it's so funny because I miss my daughter, I swear, because she was into the technical stuff. She did the band thing. So, and her partner, her significant other, he's into the technical stuff of music. So, when they would perform at the high school, they did really good Queen covers. I loved their shows. But he was the one that did all the audio. So, that I could have just asked them. But no, I'm just sitting here on my own. And thank goodness I'm half decently good with technology. And I got a good ear. Because besides that, it's tough. Like if you've never used microphones and equipment and stuff beyond just one regular microphone, it's a tough learn. Old dogs and new tricks, right? What do you want me to tell you?
Was Smule Sing the very first app you tried? Did you try like Whirly?
That was it. I did a Google search, believe it or not, because I thought, you know what, there's got to be apps out there where you can sing now, because it's 20 years later, we're in the future now. And I ended up on an article about Smule, and I dove in and I enjoyed it. So I didn't find a need to go looking anywhere else. And yeah, I've been doing it ever since. It's one of my favorite accounts. She's a young girl. I put her on a list that I sent you. I think she's 9. And just this beautiful voice. I love her so much. 9, but her mother runs her account. Thank goodness. Because when I chit chat with the mother, basically not the little girl, but she's a phenom. This one you will see on billboards in 10 years from now. Wow. Just the voice, the ability in this little thing. I thought, wow, I didn't have that voice when I was 15, let alone now. So, but I'm glad where I was going with that is I'm glad that her mother runs this account. And everything gets filtered through mom, because it can get sketchy. Social media is scary. It's so funny because one thing I really enjoyed about Smule is there's really no trolling. You know how other social media sites, it's whichever one, pick one. You always have the negative Nancy that's going to go in and just be nasty. I don't find that on Smule ever. I've never had anyone. I think the worst thing people will do to you is ghost you, so to speak. So, you give your all on a join and then it's never acknowledged or never liked or whatever. But that's like the meanest thing that can happen, and it's not mean at all. Yeah. So that I really enjoy that part about Smule.
What do you do when your iPhone runs out of battery and you're in the midst of a song?
Isn't that the worst? My worst experience with that was lives. I don't do lives, right? So I did a couple of lives with this competition thing, because obviously you want to get some practice in with your coach and your teammates. And that was interesting, I have to admit, because I never realized how much lag there is. I'm a harmonizer, right? So you harmonize when the person's singing. And I didn't realize that I got to completely ignore what they're doing because their timing's off just because of the lag of the song. So I found it really hard to sing live that way because I'm having to harmonize the music and completely ignore the other singer because they sound like they're off in the Grand Canyon somewhere, echoing away. You know what I mean? So that was a learning experience on the lives, I gotta say. I was not a huge fan of that.
How do you handle performance anxiety?
Um, for me, performance anxiety, you just kind of got to breathe it out. Like I notice often in the beginning of my song, I've got a much more trembly voice as you kind of enter into the song. And I just kind of got to jump in with both feet. As soon as I kind of get those first notes out, then you find that comfort in that song. So for me to get over the performance anxiety is just jump right in the pool. You know what I mean? Don't crawl in and just wet your toes. You jump right in. And then by the time I'm, first line into the song, I kind of get the flow and the nerves go away. That's my process.
What was the first concert that you ever went to?
The first concert I ever went to was a Shania Twain concert, Canadian Queen.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the first one I ever went to.
Have you ever met a famous musician?
I've never met a famous musician. No, I try to think of it. Maybe by proxy, where I knew cousins of famous people because they lived in my town. But no, never an actual famous person. I don't believe a famous musician. Unless you count yourself. Well, then I do know a famous musician.
What musician do you admire the most and why?
You know what? I'm a huge fan of Stevie Nicks. I love that woman so much. She's still rocking the world. She's still doing concerts. My daughter just went to see one of her concerts like right before COVID hit. So she's just a queen. Love her to death. I've been following her forever since I was young. And I guess my mom was a huge fan of Fleetwood Mac. So it played in the house all the time. So it was some of the first songs I hummed when I was little and stuff. And then, of course, then you see, oh, wow, she's so, she's just ethereal, Stevie Nicks, especially the young, flowy Stevie Nicks. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, I've been a huge fan of hers. If I had to pick somebody that's like one of my tried and true, it would be her.
Do you prefer to listen to music or create it?
Listen right now, because I think honestly because I've never really created music before. It's kind of a novel thing for me right now. So right now I do prefer listening, but one of my favorite things I do like to do is a kind of a combination of both now, where I guess it's being nitpicky too, where I'll listen to one of my favorite Smule songs if I do a join with you. I'll listen to it over and over, 2 or 3 times, and then try to pick out exactly where I could have done it better. So I've kind of been melting the two lately, honestly. Instead of just kind of chilling out and listening to music, I do my smuling and then I try to listen to it over and over and then perfect it, or I'll listen to somebody else's version of it. If I hear, one of the heavy hitters really, really blow away the song, then I'll listen to see how can I maybe incorporate some of that into my version or my singing. So, yeah.
I want to learn Nessun Dorma. Nessun Dorma. I want to learn that one. That's
My
my
cousin,
first song. Do you have a
my
Mount
cousin
Everest
was an opera singer. It's funny you say that
Really?
you like opera. Yes, on my mother's side, she ended up singing opera and she toured with a company in Europe. Yeah, so that was
Dorma.
She was amazing at it. So really good, and at opera specifically, she was yeah. Now she's a school teacher. It was short lived. I guess you do these things when you're younger, right? And then she collected her cash and got married and had kids, and
She gave it up?
she did. Now she's a school. Well, she didn't give it up. Now she's a school teacher, and she sings for her little kids. She teaches them to sing in school.
That's a shame.
She was amazing at it. Yeah, that was fun to watch. It was really fun to watch because the rest of us kind of sang other music. But one thing I didn't realize, and she was the one that taught me that, where she was a big fan of karaoke, loved it. And she was an opera singer. So her opera singing coach, if she would go out and sing karaoke over the weekend, when she would go back to her lesson the next week, she did, because her teacher could tell she had been singing karaoke and not just opera, because I guess it had strained her voice or changed something. So yeah, it was a very finite craft. I remember that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Did your singing evolve when you first started to now?
Oh, very much so. When I first started, I was much more shy. Even if you listen, it's funny. If you go back and listen to my first ever Smule submission, my first ever entry that I ever did, I sound so sweet and shy and unsure. And you know how it is. You hear those notes and not quite sure about the notes, so maybe I won't belt it out. And now, and like I said, it's only been about 4 months, just the people that I've met and the ease of, everybody's like, relax. It's not like we're doing a professional concert either. Gets the nerves out. That much better now. I'm not as afraid to, use my full range and belt it out, where you don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to miss the note. But now who cares if you miss the note? I could just redo the song 17 times until I get the note right, which is another reason why I love audio versus video. Video, you can't do that. You have to restart the whole song over and over again.
So what do you think of artificial intelligence when it comes to music?
That's a really good question. I'm a purist a little bit. I'm not a fan of effects and auto tunes and AIs. Is that what you mean? Is that what we're referencing? I'm not a fan of that because, I don't know, like it's something that to me is this beautiful gift that people can have, and it's beautiful in its natural state. And to just be able to take anything and make it sound that way, it, to me, is you're letting people down. People aren't going to enjoy the pure sound that's supposed to be coming from that song, like you were getting it from a natural voice. Then I'm not a fan of the electronic corrections and stuff. I can catch them in songs, and it makes it sound robotic. And it's, to me, singing is such a natural thing. It's not I mean, obviously it is. It's Smule, but it's not a technology thing. You know what I mean? It's something that you can enjoy. The human being can produce better than any machine.
Well, here's something that's going to freak you out. They took an artificial intelligence
Mm-hmm.
and they gave it free reign. They had it listen to Amy Winehouse, voice of Prince, whatever, and it started writing out a song for Amy Winehouse. And when they played it, it sounded like Amy Winehouse. It was written by an AI.
Really?
And I'm like fearful, thinking, wow, how far are you going to go to the point it will take over the world as well?
Oh, you didn't hear this one. You want to hear a good story like that? Did you hear about how they wanted to cast James Dean in a modern movie? Because they can do that now. They can AI and just add him in and stuff. I'm trying to think. One of the famous actors was unhappy. I think it was Chris Evans. Was mad because, okay, now you're really going to take everybody's jobs because you can just cast James Dean and young Elizabeth Taylor in new movies. So it's an interesting realm. this new meta world, this, everything's AI and computerized, and
It's ridiculous. It's getting.
it's scary. It really is a little bit. I'm a fan of the natural world. I like trees and birds and grass and wind and sun and water, and there's none of that in that world. I mean, it's there, but you can't really touch it. I appreciate the little things in life, I think.
Grace Slick from Jefferson Airplane.
Okay.
They removed the music, and it's on YouTube, and all they have is just have her singing White Rabbit. No music. This is before the auto-tune days. Now in the auto-tune, you can sound like a drunken idiot and make your voice
And it sound amazing. I know, it is so not fair. It's not fair to the people that have I mean, life's not fair, right? But I mean, the people that have really tried and spent thousands of dollars on singing lessons, and you know what I mean? And then you get, just any Joe off the street, like you said, you get autocorrect on there and you sound like Andreas Bocelli. Really doesn't matter.
Ellie, what are your plans for the coming months?
My plans for the coming months. So it's summertime here. So I've got a lot more chill time on my hands, which I like. So I'm going to be doing a lot more smuling. Really just trying to do the least that I can. And in the summer, work what I have to and try to enjoy the sunshine a little bit. You know how it is in Canada. We have so little summer that I really try to enjoy it when it's here, and then leave all the, I don't know, renovations and painting and all that stuff for winter when we're locked in our house for 7 months.
If you could trade with any musician in the world, who would it be?
Oh, wow. If I could train with any musician in the world, who would be? That is a very, very good question. And you know what? My answer to that would be, like, do they have to be alive?
No.
Or can it? No, okay. I would love to train with Queen. Freddie Mercury was amazing. I loved their music. They were so diverse in their sound and the sounds that they brought together to make music. And I know that's such a shocking choice for me, but he was so gifted. That whole band was so gifted in just creating art instead of music by melting all of these things together. A lot of them for the first time. That huge fan of that. Like, I think if I could learn from somebody, there's a ton of people, but the first one that comes to mind is Freddie Mercury. R.I.P. Freddie.
Frederica
Is that actually his name?
Frederica, no, it was Farouk Balsara.
Oh, I love that.
Farouk Balsara, and then he changed it to Freddie Mercury.
Oh my gosh. Well, isn't that fun? I didn't know that, so I learned something tonight. That is awesome.
So, what kind of social issues are you passionate about?
Oh my goodness. You know what? This is actually a very simple question. I try not to be. And that's going to sound really silly. I care about all of the things, but I have such a big family, like immediate family. I have so many children and so many things going on that I always kind of lived by the mantra that if I can make my little world better and make my little people better people and more accepting people and more loving people and stuff like that, that I'm just going to send better people out into the world, and all of these social issues will just correct themselves if we all do just the same thing. So if we all just kind of concentrate on, there are huge problems in the world, and there are terrifying problems in the world and stuff, and anxiety causing problems. But they're all things we can't really immediately affect as just one person, right? So that's the advice I give to my children anyway, is if you can make your own little home as happy and peaceful as it can be, if everybody in the world just did that, all the problems would correct themselves, because there would be no more mental health issues. There was, people would be working on their own things in their own families. So if everybody did that, it'd just be kind of like a domino effect of peace finally. So It's my little thing, my little contribution to the big whole is to try to produce effective, loving little human people, my children and myself, and release good people into the world that contribute to the world and accept others for their differences. And
Sorry. What do you think of veganism?
I'm a fan of anybody that, if you find something that makes you happy and healthy, if you can do that, whether it's veganism or not, or it's vegetarianism or any one of those things, if you're happy doing that and and you're healthy, obviously, more power to you. I'm all about live and let live. I mean, don't come and harass me at my door, but I'm all about live and let live. If you're not hurting anybody, it's none of my business. I'll do me, you do you. You know what I mean? And you're not hurting me any. It's not in my house, not my face.
How do you balance music and other obligations like family and...
Well, it's easier now because I waited so long. I think it would have been really tough to balance when my kids were younger, but now they're all kind of grown and doing their own thing and stuff. So now, and again, having a job that I can kind of work from home is nice. So, when I take a break from work, I can run into the bathroom and do a Smule song. So that part's really nice. I enjoy that a lot. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. How do you think social media has changed the music industry?
That's a good question. I honestly don't think it has a ton. The only way, I'm trying to think back when I was younger with the music industry and stuff, and it was all just the same kind of advertising, but different, right? We had TV and magazines and that kind of stuff, tabloids, whereas now they just kind of slapped it into a social media thing. Maybe it's showing a more real version of artists. That's one thing, where before it was literally just what the magazine or the press was saying about this person. Now they're sure a lot of it's scripted anyway, but they're putting themselves out there more, so they seem like a lot more real. I think with social media, they humanize them more for the regular person.
Well, thank you very much, Ellie Rigby, for spending this time on the podcast. And thank you very much for setting aside some time to speak with us. We really appreciate it. You were a wonderful guest and look forward to hearing more music from you in the future.
Such a pleasure being here. I'm very, very thankful you asked me. It was a great time. It was a great conversation.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And so everyone, please hit that subscribe button for more content. Wave. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
So hypnotizing. Could you be the devil? Could you be an angel? Your touch magnetizing. Feels like I am floating. Leaves my body glowing. They say, be afraid. The world was on fire. No one could save me but you. Oh, it's strange what desire make foolish people hate. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Well, I believe in yesterday. I filled your cup until it overflowed. Took it so far to keep you close. I was afraid to leave you on your own. I said I'd catch you if you fall.